we're telling them this is how we're going to build your company. We're leaders in their company with them on their executive team. They love it when we show them a dashboard and it says revenue going up. Here are the awesome things. Here are any challenges we're facing and what we're going to do about it. And the shorter that meeting, the better. When we're not meeting expectations, going all the way back to the beginning of our conversation, that's when clients are like, want to micromanage and help, solve all these problems. The more we tie our work to actual results, the easier it is for everybody.
Hi everyone, this is Joshua Hoffman and Alex Gerashenko, and welcome to another episode of the Masters in Marketing Agency podcast, where we deconstruct the why and how agency owners found their success and learn a little bit more about how they help their clients. Today, I have Alex Polamero, the founder and chief growth officer of Nine Stone Partners, a consulting firm that accelerates revenue growth for professional service firms by providing turnkey outsourced sales and HubSpot solutions. Welcome, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, pleasure to be with y'all.
We love
to join us.
We love a good plant in the backgrounds, by the way, so I will always try to highlight that first. But where I want to start is back to the early days of college, actually, because you have somewhat of a unique major that most people that we speak with on this podcast don't necessarily get into. So can you tell us a little bit about what your college major was and why you actually took that major?
Oh, yeah, sure. I studied at Georgetown University, and I started in business. And after 2 years, I was really interested in how business connected with religion and culture. And so I came to the dean and said, hey, I want to do a dual major, business and world religions. And they said, that's a really cool idea, but no. Those are two different colleges or schools. You got to pick one. I figured, okay, so I switched to world religions, got a degree in world religions, thinking, gosh, I can learn about faiths and cultures and people's way of living, and that would help me in business, in international business or even in the U.S. local business. Senior year, they created a dual major, international business and religion. And they said, hey, you can take that if you want. It just costs you one extra year that you don't need to take. I was like, no, thanks, man. So I got my degree in world religions and tried to figure out how to apply that to business and life.
Can you dig in a little further and kind of answer that last, not question, but comment that you made and how it specifically does and how it has helped you? You took the classes, how that therefore did it help you moving forward?
Oh, yeah. Business in my mind is, a key to business is relationships, right? And understanding and having empathy for people and where they come from and their faith and traditions, which really roots them in their worldview. So understanding people's worldviews and having a sense of empathy for those things allows me and our team to work more effectively with a variety of types of people. And when you can work with people, it's easier then to have conversations, to solve problems, right? And to think about how we're going to grow those companies over time. But in order to do that effectively, you really have to have people you like working with. So people hire us because they like us and because we have a track record of success. But part of the reason they like us is because we care about who they are, right? And we care about their family and their backgrounds and their experiences. And I think studying world religions gave me a sense of caring and empathy that is really like a foundation of my business experience. I mean, what do you think, Josh?
What I was going to add to that, I have a truck beeping outside, so I'm keeping myself on mute for some of this, but
Can't hear it.
No, you can't. What I love about that is not just how you approach business with it, but it also is a recruiting tool. And I don't mean this is, but I mean, people want to work for people that have that mentality. And I think we've talked to you, this is the second time we've talked to you, and it comes out very quickly that you do care. And it doesn't come off as BS. And I just think, you talked about all the ways it does help your business, but I think at the end of the day, a business is its people. And it's not just how you're treating them, but it's who you're bringing in. And I think when you're bringing in the right people that agree with this mindset that you have, I think some people don't like calling business a family, but you have this happy family, within the business, because things do get hard. And when you do care about the person you're working next to, I just think it makes those hard times a little bit easier. So,
I had a little bit of a like a different kind of route that I went from Alex. You talking about studying world religions and people's cultures and how, how to empathize with them. It's getting that background in people seems to align. So I don't know, maybe it's just as a result of, but it seems to align with what your company does now, right? You help other companies get more sales, be better at marketing. What is more sales and being better? It's understanding the psychology of people and how they think and what matters to them. And so have any of those lessons from what you learned as part of world religions come into any of the processes or discovery that you have with your clients?
Oh, yeah, it's really interesting that you like positioned it in that way, but absolutely. So we start most of our engagements with a sales journey map or multiple, where we're understanding the process that clients go through as part of their sales, because usually there are places in that journey that can be optimized that really unlock the ability to have efficient or effective sales and really grow, because we're working to grow companies 20% or more a year. 20% is a minimum. So we need to really optimize this sales process. But in order to optimize a sales process, we have to be interested in what's happening, right? And we have to listen to people, ask them questions and let them tell us, how do they do things? Where are the opportunities? I mean, a lot of times the folks internally have a lot of great ideas for how to improve the organization, right? So it just starts with a basic interest and care for other people, where they're at, their experience, and their own ideas for how to improve the business, and then putting that into kind of a sense of our experience for how to then grow a company, right? How to systematically take that, what we hear, and put it into a system, right?
Yeah, like a
Alex,
framework.
you all are good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Creating systems. So that's one way that's been, really helpful. Also, just being open to other people, right? And their perspectives. Because look, a lot of times, the things we're doing are brand new. No one knows the answers. So we have to figure out solutions that people weren't doing, or we're working on digital transformation. What is this idea? It's new. It's how to take organizations forward and kind of lead and push forward beyond what we know how to do. Well, that takes a lot of people with a number of ideas and some testing, right? So when you're open to other people's ideas and culture and feedback, it's kind of just like built into our DNA for who I am and who we are as a culture at our organization, right? Mm-hmm. That we're interested in people and their success.
And maybe this is going to be, maybe you just answered the question that I'm about to ask, but sticking to this topic, with world religion, I believe that your background with world religion sort of led to your business name. So, what's this whole thing about like 9 fruits of the spirit? We talked about this last time. What is it and how has it impacted you?
Yeah, so thanks, Josh. So 9 Stone came from the idea that there are 9 fruits of the Spirit, talked about in the Bible. Things like peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control, love, joy. I mean, these things are, they're universally accepted truths. Like you can go to any faith, any culture, and say, what do you think of love or peace or joy? And we think, hey, these are good things, right? So I was good at making companies money. But I wanted to build a company where the foundation, so 9 stone, the stone being the foundation, was on these more universal truths. If we did a good job, what if we manifest things like joy and peace and patience and kindness in our business? So what if our employees felt that way? What if our clients felt that way? What if the work that we did brought energy into our communities so that all of us could treat people like that? And into our broader community, like the world, right? And how we serve other organizations and are involved in nonprofit and philanthropy and other things. And the truth is, it's challenging because when I started a company, after 1 year, the first year in business with 9 Stone, I asked my daughter, who I think she was 7 at the time, "Hey, Layla, do you think I'm more patient now that I've started 9 Stone? You know what that's all about." And she says, "Oh no, Dad, you are not more patient. You were stressed. I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, it's kind of a high bar, right? You can make companies money. So I feel like we're constantly trying to kind of check ourselves in terms of how do we create a culture and also get results that align with that sense of how we measure success. But I'd love your thoughts. I mean, how do you all measure success? What does it mean at the end of the day that you did a great job for a client?
On the for us, at the end of the day, it's expectations and satisfaction. Obviously, for us, did we hit the due dates, right? Because we're doing technical work. It's construction a lot of times, right? So did we hit it on time? But that's not really what matters. What matters is the client satisfied? Did we manage expectations? We could have delivered earlier and they're not satisfied, or we could deliver late and they are satisfied. So we base that on how's the relationship with the client? Are we aligned on expectations? And what's their rate of satisfaction? And the more of those we get, ultimately will lead to more. For us, really, retention is more valuable than the initial sale, because that's all of our models are built subscription-based and retention-based. So that's really what we're looking for.
So then how do you align that back to like your worldview for running a business?
I think, all right, let's see. I think let's take it one-to-one initially, like relationship-based, whether it's a relationship with your spouse or your child or your partner or whatever, business partner, whatever, take it. I think that I used to say that communication is the most important. I switched that to expectations are the most important. And I think that dives deeply into how you enter a situation with what expectations you have, and potentially those expectations are not aligned on the other side. So you have mismatch, and that creates, you could take that on the product side as well. And that creates a spectrum of the expectation versus reality is essentially user satisfaction, user experience, right? You need to understand that. So that's kind of on a one-to-one level, and also going to a somewhat of a one-to-one level with a product, you with a product, as opposed to the relationship you have with someone else. And I think, take that to a worldview. If we understand each other's expectations, maybe on a worldview, we can identify those gaps and at least have a relevant conversation.
Nice. Look at that. Like, yeah, associating people's expectations. You have to understand them in order to understand their expectations. You got to do a little listening.
There's the book Never Split the Difference about negotiation. One of the things that I found fascinating about it that I didn't think would be the case going in, because Never Split the Difference seems like I'm going to be a hard negotiator. But really what the whole book is about is understanding where the other person is coming from. And instead of being demanding and confrontational, you're making them feel heard, understood, that you understand their situation, can sympathize with it, even if there's no empathy there, right? You can at least sympathize with what they're going through and help get them to whatever result that it is, as long as there's a balance. And that's really matching expectations and being open to someone else's expectations.
So in order for us to, I think you nailed it. In order for us to improve sales, which is we're shooting always for a number, an ROI, which is an actual number. We expect to make this much money for the company, and it represents this ROI in this time frame. That's what we shoot for. Not on our end, we don't shoot for like a number of leads or qualified leads. That's part of it, but that helps us get the number. In order to do that, we have to understand what the customer's expectations are, and then we need to understand what the employee experience is in meeting those customer expectations and where the gaps are, right? Mm-hmm. And how do we automate some of these things for scale when you're doing it bigger? So I love how you described that. It's awesome, Alex.
I didn't have that until we started, so thank you. That was helpful for me as well.
I was going to say, I love that you're throwing the questions back at us. I'm sure we've maybe
Did you expect anything different from our discovery call?
I love it. It's, I will always share my opinion usually, but I love that someone's asking it back. So, I really appreciate that. I think it's honestly just making a better conversation with this whole thing. Okay, so starting to move a little bit from, this mindset that we have and why we came up with the business name, and starting to move into a little bit more on the business side of things. And we'll get into, your company and the services, and we'll take a look at a website together in a second. But I was doing some research and learned that you do have a pretty interesting path with Nine Stone. So according to LinkedIn and our previous conversation, you were the president from, I believe, 2017 to 2018. Then became a CRO and partner at Culture Cube in 2019, and then back to Nine Stone in 2020. So if you're open to it, we'd love to just hear kind of the storyline of how that all happens.
Yeah, sure. I started Nine Stone. We were 2 years in. We started doing a project for Culture Cube for one of their big clients on the marketing automation side. We totally hit it off, and they said, "Hey, why don't you come work for us?" They were a larger agency, more full-time staff, and I said, "Okay, let's give it a go." Part of the reason I did that is because I really like them. They're neat people. I like the work that they were doing. And also I was pretty burned out. I was like, wow, this is exhausting, right? To run a shop, a small digital agency at the time. So went and did that and focused on growing sales. And I was one of 3 equity partners in the organization. And what the biggest challenge there was just working with partners. They were great people, and they still are today. But it was a challenge sometimes aligning expectations with other partners. And after a year, we came together and said, hey, you know what? We actually would like to go back to where we were in an amicable way, which is amazing. And I give them a lot of kudos for that. So what I essentially did is bought back my clients that I could buy back through our agreement, because we had thought through this ahead of time. What would happen if we didn't work or we wanted to go back?
That's great.
Bought them back. I bought them back, kind of like lost a lot of the value of my business. And then restarted right before COVID and started hiring from there. I learned a lot from that experience, right? About working with partners, about negotiating agreements. A lot of times when you're, buying or selling a business, you got to think about the end game. Even though it's kind of hard. What happens if one of you dies? What happens if one of you doesn't want to work together? All these things. And also just the power of patience and perseverance, right? Because running an agency takes a lot of effort, and there's a lot of trial and error and winning and losing, and trying to learn from others who've done it better than I have. So that was my journey.
I appreciate you sharing that. Is there anything that you would do differently? Because it sounds like you did think about a few things and how this could go. But yeah, would you do anything differently?
Yeah, I wouldn't have sold. I wouldn't do that. Like 2 years in business is not very long. Right? There are a few key things that I would do. Number one, right? I would start creating systems in my business from day one. Right? So scalability is about systems, which people talk about this all the time, right? But I was more of a salesperson and technical expert in marketing automation. So I was like, well, I can go get business and I could do the work, right? But creating the systems for replicating that without me, that was the hard part. So I would start that much sooner. I'd put more thoughts into systems and the right hires right off the bat. Number 2, I wouldn't sell, right? I would focus on what my end game is. I'd set the goal and I'd go after that, right? So I'd want to know what my exit strategy is before I even started. I had no exit strategy. I was like, you know what? I want to be a business owner. I'm going to start a company. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. So if I were to start it all over today, I'd know exactly like what I want to do and how long I expect it to take. What are the systems I need? I would have done a lot more research on like how do successful organizations run this type of business. So I was just classic technical person starting a company, right? Not a person who knew how to run that company. So I had to learn by hiring consultants who coached me and trial and error, and bringing in people who are now better than me, right? So gosh, That's what I would do. But you all run companies, so what would you do? Top 2 things.
Well, I was going to again throw it over to Alex, but sorry, Alex, for throwing so much over to you. Alex is our resident systems and process guy, so I was going to say, Alex, do you have anything to add to that?
Man. Coming to you.
Yeah, I think I started kind of in the same boat. I know how to do this. Let me go do this for others. And I completely agree with, and like any investment, you're starting a business, that's an investment. You should know what the exit is, because then it helps you kind of map where you are. And having a map of kind of where you are means you also have a map of where you're going to get to that exit. And then the systems that need to be in place and the people need to be in place gets a lot more clear as a roadmap. So I love that you said that. The thing that I think comes from the question of what system should we have, for us, it's been a question of first, what processes are we currently following, and potentially how they need to change without you in the picture, for example, because the way you do things, I've kind of come to, no one's going to do it the exact way that I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to do exactly how everyone else is going to do it, but we need to come to a standardized base that we can all use, that works. And ideally, it's easy to train towards. So one of the ways that we've gotten there is we run a book club. And so we pick a book that we're going to read. We read a chapter a week, and our project managers read the chapter. We connect on Fridays. We talk about, and it's broken up into a number of sections. First section is what we learned from this specific chapter. 2, how it applies to us. 3, what are we going to do about it? And 4, let's talk about the action steps from last week. So it's broken up into basically like 15 minutes, kind of time box, not fully enforced. But what that's allowed us to do is to pick books based on topics of where we need to focus on making our process better and creating a system for. And so that's led us to create processes kind of step by step and kind of in layers. And then that turns into a system, which has been incredibly powerful, especially this year with the availability of being able to use AI to create things, agentic AI, to create workflows that run on their own. But anyways, all that to say is I completely agree with what you're saying. We added a method for how do we get to the process, because that wasn't as clear when people are operating in silos.
Alex, do you have a specific example? We brought it up before, and I just love that you do that. Do you have a specific example of a problem that led to the book that led to the solution? Well, solution.
So the most recent change we made is our biggest bottleneck was implementation for our website projects. And our process became a lot longer when we started adding the psychology piece behind conversions, like why people make the decisions that they make or how their buying process changes. So we started doing a lot more interviews and a lot more research and competitor analysis and our discovery with stakeholders. So it already extended the process. And our now implementation is still taking a long time. So through a series of iterations through process, we broke down our entire implementation process, and then found ways where we could optimize by saving certain elements. So having system process, it's amazing how like everyone has their way of doing it. And like, if you've been developing websites for 10 years, you have your way and you think that's good, but someone shows you like a step-by-step process and somehow it turns out to be faster. So that's one example. I don't know if it hits exactly what you wanted to, but we got a 6x improvement on speed. The first time. So every developer ran it in the span of like 4 or 5 weeks. And the net result at the end was 6x improvement on speed from the designs are ready to we're actually able to deploy.
Wow.
Significant.
Yeah, that's significant, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So if I would have gone slower and created better systems, then they enable you to scale faster in a sense, right? And they're more scalable. So we deal with scalable systems all the time. And it took me a while to kind of, our CEO, Tom Tonkin, says, we got to drink our own champagne. It took me a little while to drink our own champagne. We build systems for others. Why don't we build them for ourselves? Right? What do our systems look like? And now they're really awesome. But they should have been awesome 5 years ago. Instead, we're spending all our time doing them for other people.
No, that's, I mean, that a lot of times in business, that's how it works is, what's it, the shoemaker's son? Oh, I forgot.
Has no shoes or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Which I've definitely been in companies that's the case. And we talked about, taking a look at a website together, and I want to do that in a second. But first, I just want to dive into your business for a second, because, obviously part of the goal for this podcast is to highlight your business and what you do best. So can you kind of just tell us a little bit more about your business, and then we'll take a look at a website together?
Yeah, sure. We started, and thank you for asking, Josh. We started as a full stack digital agency. We are no longer that. We're a sales and marketing consulting firm. And let me explain what I mean by that. If we build the greatest HubSpot system ever, but it gets no business for our client, then that is not success, right? We need to generate more revenue for companies that are growing quickly. So what we do is we work on both the sales, we provide outsourced sales to companies. We help build their business development functionality and provide team members to actually sell. The HubSpot type of stuff is the marketing infrastructure that is needed for salespeople to actually sell. So if they're talking to lots of prospects and we're qualifying them, what happens to all the ones that are not deals right away? How do you nurture them over time? How do you, schedule tasks and report on all this stuff? How do you cross-sell services? All of this is marketing infrastructure that needs to happen. And systems, right? So HubSpot enables us to have systems and all the sales assets we need. So nurture campaigns, sales sequences, landing pages, all that kind of stuff. That supports salespeople who go out there and do the sales. So then we have an entire team that focuses on business valuation. And their job is to identify, we have a whole system for managing 8 key drivers that enable a business to sell at a higher multiple and to grow that business valuation. So in the very beginning, what we're going to do is we're going to benchmark a company's business valuation if they allow us to do. Many of our clients want us to do that. And we're going to say, okay, these are the things that we need to do to improve your business valuation, to give you a higher multiple and sell. We're creating business value. Here are the things that we need to do from a sales process perspective to improve your sales. And then our team is going to go do it. And our sales team is talking to our marketing team and saying things like, you know what, I really wish I had a case study on this. Great. Next day, it's done. It's on the website. It's in a PDF. It's whatever they need. Go. Use it in real time. Give us real-time feedback. And this process of iteration allows us to improve sales much faster. So let me just give you kind of an example. When we're calling for one client, went through this process of where does your business want to go in 3 years? Let's see how we can improve the multiple. Where's your sales at today? Here's how we're going to improve your sales. And then our team is now selling. First 30 days, we were in a situation where, a 30 minutes of calling ideal prospects would usually get us maybe one qualified meeting, maybe. By the end of 60 days in this process of iterating on feedback, a 30-minute session with our sales team was averaging us 8 qualified meetings for that client, right, in 30 minutes. So now that we have a process and messaging that works, okay, let's put that into a system that works for more salespeople across an organization. And then we go from there. So that's like a really short timeline, right? 60 days. That's often how we work.
It's powerful. Yeah. Man, that's having a process for ultimately most companies are built to sell. Smaller companies, right? You take most of small businesses, eventually they retire or whatever it is, they're built to sell. Having a process for that is as a marketing agency is, I think it's at least it's very refreshing, and not something that we hear much. We hear a lot on this podcast
What I was going to say
about companies helping with certain aspects, or maybe they're full service, right? They may help with branding, they may help with messages, they may help them get leads. But why? Like for what reason? So I love that you've taken it to focusing on what truly matters to the business owner, because then that drives all other decisions.
Yeah,
and having a process for it.
Yeah, we find when we're helping a company meet their revenue expectations and that kind of growth, they're not micromanaging us. We're telling them this is how we're going to build your company, right? We're leaders in their company with them on their executive team. They love it when we show them a dashboard and it says revenue going up, right? Here are the awesome things. Here are any challenges we're facing and what we're going to do about it. Right? And the shorter that meeting, the better. When we're not meeting expectations, going all the way back to the beginning of our conversation, that's when clients are like, want to micromanage and help, solve all these problems. So the more we tie our work to actual results, the easier it is for everybody. What our clients want is, I want a company that goes here. Great, we're going to help you get there. Right? And then they want to refer us. And what you all do on the website side of things is super important, right? Because we come in and say, okay, we need to adjust your sales and marketing infrastructure and your messaging and the way you present yourself to hit these new goals. And that means we need to change. We need to change some things often on the website. We need to test things on the website. We need to iterate faster, right? We need to showcase new things. And we don't need to wait months to have web pages that do this. Right? We need things done faster because our sales team is out there asking for it today. So you don't want to, a salesperson doesn't want to go, hey, I need this case study on the website. And the team goes, well, okay, it's backlogged and we'll get to that in 45 days. You're like, they feel like their hands are tied. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? And you all have systems that enable those kinds of solutions to happen much faster, right? And then provide you with feedback faster. It's one of the reasons we like working together.
Yeah, and the similar to, I guess, how you position the company to focus on results, sending something like, hey, I need this case study on my website is a task. We see it as that helps us prove our results to the company, because something like, we always prioritize things of like, how much is it actually going to move the needle based on what we're looking at. And what we've seen specifically to case studies is that that's a real validation that actually does move the needle, because most people who are visiting a site are trying to see themselves in whatever they're trying to buy, to see a solution that you help someone like me or that has my problem. So I'm able to see my problem and a potential solution, I'm more likely to buy. So that case study in and of its nature would just pop up to the top of the list. And I think that's important, especially with dealing with clients who have ideas about how they want certain things worded, or certain technical things within an industry that need to be there. Bringing them back to how does this actually move the needle allows them to have clarity and trust in us that we're gonna prioritize the right things.
You said something I'm really glad that you did, and because what we're learning from working with folks like you, Alex, is that it is better for our team to come to you and say, we're trying to achieve this. Right? We need more of these type of people to self-qualify and fill out this form or book this meeting or schedule this webinar. How can we do that? Right? Because then your team can help us figure out the how on the website, right? We know what we need to achieve and we got to get there. And so working with a partner that can help solve the how is way more effective for us as a team supporting our clients than trying to micromanage the how.
Yeah. I think if we're all aligned on the result, whatever partners you're working with, we're working with, and the client agrees on the result, it makes a lot of other things a lot simpler and easier to get consensus or set expectations on. I won't go into details, but it happens all the time. Client says, this is really important. And then you put it into perspective of the result that you had agreed to, that we're going towards. And then it's not as important. This other thing is much more important because it is more likely to create impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We see that all the time. That clients will say, I need to do all this stuff. We'll go through some basic discovery or sales journey map and go, okay, well, we see what you want to do. How would you prioritize that in our list of recommendations? And they go, oh, yeah, maybe phase 5. Let's get to phase 1.
We're running towards the end here, but this has been one of, if not the most collaborative episodes that we've had. So what I want to do for this screen share is, Alex, if you can get up the website, and let's continue the exact conversation that we're having right now, and kind of play off of each other. So, you're both named Alex, so that makes it easy too. That this is very collaborative. But again, let's try to keep this like 5 minutes, just because we're running out of time. But and if we go over and you guys are good, let's do that. But we'd just love to hear not only looking at this website, Alex, what you would do and how you would approach this client, but also how you would work with someone like DevNoodle and Alex G, co-host Alex, in kind of combining and making sure that we're focused on the right thing when it comes to this company. So
let's jump into it. So Alex G, I think you just grab this one at random, like in your local area, right? An accounting firm. We work a lot with professional services and accounting firms across the country. So click on solutions for me. Let's just take a look at a few things, right? Get a sense of what this. And let's look at, employee benefit plan.
Okay.
This is some, additional type of like advisory service that they're offering. And here you go. Here's the page, right? And if you scroll down a little bit, it gives you a chance to like call them, shoot them an email, gives you a little bit of info about them and a drop down with some additional information. Cool. And some of the folks that are working on the team, which is great. Let's pull up another website because we looked at just another random. These were literally just like 2 that we just right before this call said, let's just find 2.
Same service, different company.
Yeah. Same service, different company. And then go ahead and scroll down a little bit. And you get a kind of sense of, what they're offering. You have an email and a phone number. And there you go. Okay, so from a design perspective, why don't we start with you, Alex, where you go, and then I'll talk about a few of the things that we're looking at that often help us.
Okay.
Or maybe we flip it around. How about this? I need these pages. I need someone to be able to come on this page, identify if this is right for them, and contact us. Mm-hmm. And then I need a way to make sure that whoever they contact follows up. And whether this person lands in our sales pipeline, what is the follow-up with them?
Okay. Right? I'll take it through contacts us and you take it from there.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. We've developed somewhat of a framework, and it's super easy for every page on the site. We believe that every single person, whether they're shopping for sunglasses or plumbing services, has the same 3 questions when they're in that journey. First is, they're searching for something, so they don't have time to browse or read. They're very quickly trying to understand, am I in the right place? So if you land on this page from a search and you're looking for employee benefit, then you are in the right place if you want an audit of your employee benefit. So am I in the right place? Employee benefit plan. That's okay. The second part of that is, do you get me? Okay, I'm in the right place, but do you really get me? Do you understand why I'm looking for an audit? What's the pain that I'm having or problem that I'm trying to solve? So that needs to come across directly in this initial area. This picture really doesn't drive anything towards my pain or problem. And there's a lot of space for subheadings here to really drive home what the potential problem is. Once they feel like they're in the right place, let's assume that this was enough. Next, I'm looking for, okay, I see that you do this. Do I trust you? I need to see validation. And again, I'm skimming for information. So I have some information here, something about 100 or more participants or subject to XYZ. Okay. No, I don't see any trust really built in here. So both of these pages are missing key details for establishing trust. And you think about your own sales process, your own sales journey, or how you buy, you want to feel comfortable. So first is, am I in the right place and do you get me? Second is, do I trust this company? Outside of seeing some friendly faces, I have no idea how good or bad this company is. How long they've been in business, how many audits have they done in the last year or in the history of their company, how many people are involved. There's a number of those things that we call validations. And then lastly, if I have found the information that I'm looking for, I feel that, yes, I'm in the right place, they get me, and they're a credible company that can handle my needs. Next is, do I feel comfortable reaching out? This company's calls to action are just an email and phone number. I may have certain anxieties about reaching out. Maybe I need an audit done right now because I have, my period to renew with my existing providers coming up. Can you do it in 24 hours? Maybe I need to know what the costs are in switching. Maybe I have a penalty. There's all these anxieties and concerns that creep up before I make the decision to actually contact. And the webpage should do a good job of answering those to make me feel that clicking this button, work with us, that's a commitment. You're asking me to commit to working with you. I barely know anything about you, and I have all these anxieties already about even reaching out to you. You want me to click a button that says work with us? So the more comfortable they feel, this click should be the easiest thing they've ever done in their life. And ideally, it doesn't say work with us. It says free consultation. And but basically, essentially, am I in the right place and do you get me? Do I feel like I can trust you? And do I feel comfortable taking the next step, which is the de-risking? Those are the 3 steps that we go through with every single page to get them to a higher conversion rate from visiting to actually contacting you. So once they've contacted, on all you, Alex.
So I gotta, before I even get there though, what are you seeing as the role in like chatbots and AI, right? Being able to answer a lot of these questions.
I think they are super important and very valuable as long as it's done correctly. Most people will exit out of them if it's the first thing that pops up when you're on the screen. So positioning them to activate with a certain message at the right times, like for example, seems like you've been looking around. Is there something that I can help you with? And understanding if it is going to be a chatbot as opposed to a live chat. In a live chat, you want to see a person there. So person, know that you can contact the person. If it's a chatbot, it needs to be positioned from, hey, I'm here to help make this process a lot easier for you, and then it needs to present relevant options. So we need to understand, one of the processes we go through is called client mission or visitor missions. What's the mission that they're on when they're on this page? So if it's a employee benefit plan audit, that means that they already have an employee benefit plan. They want to get it audited. For what reasons? Potentially save money, to get more benefits, to potentially because they're not happy with whatever. So understanding the options that pop up in that chatbot on that page is really important, so that it feels like it's actually helpful. Because otherwise, it's going to get dismissed and it's just noise.
Yep. What do you think about filling out a form versus scheduling a meeting? You know, where the pop-up schedule free consultation, you could schedule it right there.
We tend to offer both because it depends where the person is, kind of time-wise. Is it late in the day they want to schedule, they want to reach out? Are they ready to schedule a call? Because that's a bigger commitment than just filling out form to get an answer back by email. So we usually offer both, and in many cases we combine them because filling out a form is a less of an ask than booking a meeting, because it's just they could just send in their question and wait for a response. So what we'll do is we create these step-by-step forms essentially, which gives the person value initially, like with the first, depending on what the website is for. Let's take in the case of I'll give you a case with a SEO consultants agency. We just rebuilt their site. Their form basically starts off with get a free professional analysis of your traffic or of your website. The first field that they see, actually the only field they see, is put in your URL. That's very easy to do. I'm not giving up any information about myself. You give your URL, then it says, okay, we'll start preparing this report. When it's ready, where do you want us to send it? That's the next field. Now it's, okay, I'm going to get something of value. You've told me I'm going to get value. I'm going to put in my email address. Now I have your email address. Next is, got it. Oh, by the way, if you want to skip the line and plan a call for us to review this together, book your meeting here. So there's ways to organize it. If you understand what the user's mission is, or the visitor's mission is, and where they place value, you can position, it's, everything has to be positioned towards value and helping them achieve their mission.
That idea of positioning towards value. So if you look at these two from our end, it's difficult to track these emails and phone numbers. So the first thing we'd say, are you tracking this information? And where are you tracking it? Do you have a CRM at your company? Are you tracking it in Excel? And how quickly are you able to follow up with these folks? So most partners at accounting firms, they're very busy. They have a full schedule. They're working on stuff. They bill hourly, right? They're also supposed to go get new business. And it's hard for them to receive a call in the moment. So they usually don't pick up. And emails are not often responded to quickly. So what happens is a lot of leads actually don't get responded to at all. And there's no reporting to show how many of these leads are actually being followed up with or not. And that's where a tool like HubSpot can really help us. So if someone fills out a form, we can track that. Behind the scenes, we can see that they came from this page. We can know if they're already a customer or a client or not, if they're brand new. And then oftentimes, this lead actually needs to go to somebody to qualify it. So whoever's in charge of this service at an organization, they really need to talk to people who are pre-qualified, because many of the people who actually contact accounting firms maybe they're not a good fit for the actual service, or they're contacting the wrong person about the actual service, or they may actually need multiple services at that firm. So they usually have to go to somebody in between. Many accounting firms don't actually have that person. That's the business development type function that often doesn't exist. So we start asking some of those questions that help us go, okay, how can we get more, how can we respond to these leads faster? How can we track where they came from so we know where our efforts need to be placed? And how do we give more qualified leads to your actual team so they're more effective in closing them? Because they have limited time. So you don't want a partner that's billing at a high hourly rate to spend time on unqualified leads, which happens all the time, and then they get frustrated. So why use a CRM if you're getting unqualified leads? Right? So we have to solve a number of these things, and they're usually things that don't exist. So I can give you an example with one of our clients. They came to us and said, they're an accounting firm, and this was during COVID. They said, hey, we need more leads. And they had a website like this. We need more leads. That's the key thing that we need. They actually had HubSpot, but just the partners weren't using it. It was a larger firm. They had over 500 employees, and only 3 employees were using HubSpot. We looked in their HubSpot account and found that, actually, in the last couple of months, every month they had over 1,000 leads. Inbound leads, 1,000 every month. And out of those, less than 5% had been responded to at all. Right? So that's not actually a lead gen problem, right? The website then, so we would come back to you, Alex, and say, okay, well, we looked at this stuff. We have too much volume. We have to figure out how to get people to the right page, qualify themselves through this page, and go through the right process to get them to the right partner. And you need somebody in there to help kind of pre-qualify them, right? And we need to do it faster because you can't wait days for somebody to say they want an audit, right? So this is how you and I would tag team this, and our teams would tag team this. Hey, we found some info or the lack of info. Alex, help us solve the problem.
Yeah, and this is, we talk about this a lot with clients, especially when we work with other marketing agencies that are responsible for traffic. So they're responsible for bringing people, let's say, to the site. We're responsible for making sure that that traffic converts. But then most of the time, it's on the client to make sure that they call the damn leads, right? But that is they may not have the infrastructure for that, which is exactly where you come in.
Yeah, and we actually, the reason we move towards sales, adding sales as part of the marketing infrastructure, combining them, is because we had many clients over the last 7 years where we were providing a lot of qualified leads, and we had the data to support that, but they were not being followed up with. They were not being nurtured. They just weren't being called. There was no one on the other side, our client side, to actually pick up the phone call, right? And so we weren't hitting the goals. And then the client would come back to us and say, hey, Ninestone, we're not hitting the goals. Why aren't you, Ninestone, hitting the goals? Right? So then you get right back to that traditional marketing versus sales, back and forth. Right? And so we said, okay, let's solve that by, we'll take on the sales. Now, if we're not hitting the goal, it really is on us. But if we are, that's also on us. And the reason we got into business valuation was because we started hitting the goals. And we wanted to say, well, we should probably get, shouldn't we get commission? We're running sales. And the answer was yes. We actually, most of our deals are retainer plus commission because we're running sales. And we had clients
it's great
say,
for both.
Yeah, right. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Yeah, you have skin in the game.
We have skin in the game. Clients like it when we have skin in the game for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if we can help 2x, 3x or more their valuation on top of their annual revenue, they start seeing numbers in a different light, right? Oh, and we can help. Now that's a smaller company, right? Let's say like 3 to 15 million. If we can help the owner get out of being the only person doing all this stuff, that's major, right? Talk about lifestyle change.
We could probably honestly do an entire other episode with that last comment that you made. Especially, I'm more on the sales side too, so that's usually where I tap into it. But I will officially put the stamp on this episode as the most collaborative that we've had, which I think is great. I think it's exactly. Honestly, I kind of want to change the entire 100%. Structure to be a lot like this. So season 7 will probably be coming up soon. But as we come up to the end of the episode, I just want to give you an opportunity to mention how people can find you and anything else you'd like to end with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Josh. It's been really fun. Ninestonepartners.com. Ninestone is spelled out. Ninestone. Ninestonepartners.com. That's how you can find us. You can, connect with Alex or Josh or me directly on LinkedIn as well, and would love to connect. But this kind of collaborative experience for me is really fun, right? Because I'm learning a lot in this process. That running a company and working with clients is just about learning a lot and then trying to, put money where our mouth is, rubber the road kind of thing.
Yeah. Learn and implement it.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And for those of you who have learned something new from the episode, please consider giving us a like or a follow so we can continue getting the highest quality guests. And as always, thank you for listening, Alex. I've already said it. This is one of the more fun episodes that we've had. It was the most collaborative, and hopefully we can get some kind of partnership or something going. But I thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Take care, y'all.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks for listening to the Masters in Marketing Agency podcast. I hope you got a ton of value out of this episode. And before we go, I just want to thank our sponsors, DevNoodle. DevNoodle provides marketing agencies with the ability to offer their clients unlimited website design, build, and management services with fixed monthly plans. If website design, development, and maintenance is holding your agency back from growing, please reach out to us at devnoodle.com, where we make websites easy for you and easy for your clients. devnoodle.com.